Flooding occurs upstream of the Yangtze River. The Three Gorges Reservoir finally can't hold on anymore. Jung Joo Flood's $2.5 billion Yuan investment in Riverbank protection collapses after only 6 months. Sinograin's poisoning incident escalates. Analysts, authorities have ulterior motives. Before the third plenum, Jack Ma returns to China and appears at Alibaba headquarters, sparking speculation. Exclusive interview: CCP senior official discusses the lives of ordinary Chinese people. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Flooding occurs upstream of the Yangtze River. The Three Gorges Reservoir finally can't hold on anymore. The Three Gorges Dam has initiated emergency flood discharge operations as water levels surge to a record-breaking 159.90 meters as of 8 a.m. on July 11th. This unprecedented rise, 15 meters above the multi-year average, marks the highest water level recorded at the dam during this season since its inception. CCTV News reports that the Yangtze River Water Resources Commission anticipates several rising water events in the upper Yangtze over the next week, with a significant flood peak expected around July 12, potentially reaching about 45,000 cubic meters per second. In preparation, the dam operated a flood discharge hole at 2 p.m. and again at 6 p.m. on July 11th, progressively increasing the outflow from 27,000 to 31,000 cubic meters per second to manage the upcoming flood peak. Since the start of the plum rain season on June 18th, the dam has intercepted 8.34 billion cubic meters of floodwater, significantly reducing flood peaks at key stations like Lianhuating, Hankou, Jiujiang, and Datong. This coordinated effort with other control reservoirs has alleviated flood defense pressures in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, preventing the exceedance of guaranteed water levels and the need for flood diversion near Chenglingji. Following a dike breach at Tuanzhou Polder Embankment in Huarong County, Yayang City, Hunan Province, the dam continued to intercept upstream water, enhancing the water recession rate in the Dongting Lake area. This increased the water level decrease rate at Kilishan Station by 0.3 meters, allowing the station to exit the alert level a day earlier than anticipated, thus easing the pressure on the Qiantuan dike defenses and simplifying the breach sealing efforts. The report concludes with an update that Yayang Station, the last station in the Dongting Lake Basin to exceed the alert level, has seen its water level drop below the alert level of 32.5 meters and continue to decline as of 6 a.m. this morning. This marks a comprehensive exit from the alert levels across the entire Dongting Lake Basin. Additionally, the Commission is continually consulting and assessing the situation, ready to increase the discharge from the Three Gorges Dam based on incoming water volumes. This action is coordinated with other upstream tributary reservoirs to maintain effective flood interception and control ahead of the peak flood. Special consideration is being given to the flood defense situation in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, aiming to ensure that water levels at major control stations that have dropped below alert levels do not rise again. With the Three Gorges Dam now discharging floodwaters at increased rates to manage an expected surge, all eyes are on the response efforts that have so far successfully mitigated a potentially catastrophic flooding scenario. This historic high water level at the dam, a direct result of the year's heaviest floodwater influx in the upper reaches of the Yangtze River, underscores the vital importance of the dam's flood control capabilities. Jung Joo Flood's $2.5 billion Yuan investment in Riverbank protection collapses after only 6 months. The public still vividly remembers the July 20, 2021, flood in Zhengzhou, labeled a man-made disaster. Recently, heavy rain on July 7 and 8 once again struck Zhengzhou and Hunan, leading to severe flooding that submerged city areas up to an average adult's waist and engulfed many streets and vehicles. CCTV and Top News reported that rescue operations were hampered as vehicles got stuck and traffic was paralyzed for hours. Notably, according to Jimu News, just 6 months after the renovations, a section of the Zhengzhou River embankment in Zhengzhou gave way. On the morning of July 9, near the Zhengzhou River and Zijing Mountain Road intersection, a 5-meter-long, 4-meter-wide section of the embankment collapsed, sending soil onto the pathway and into the river. This collapse, which also destroyed surface tiles and railings, was witnessed by a local resident around 4 p.m. on July 8. Despite high water levels, the water had not reached the area of the collapse at the time. In July 2023, rumors circulated online claiming that 34 billion yuan was spent to tile 22 kilometers of Zhengzhou River channel. The command office of the Zhengzhou River Comprehensive Renovation Project in Zhengzhou later clarified that only about 10.8 kilometers of the channel were covered with granite, at a cost of approximately 6.5 million yuan, $896,000. The total estimated investment for the project was about 34.02 billion yuan, $4.7 billion USD, with 25.33 billion yuan, $3.5 billion USD, allocated for channel renovation. Criticism over the project's efficacy surfaced on Weibo on July 10 this year, where a user lamented, "The water hadn't even reached the collapsed area, yet it still collapsed, and the pathway was also damaged." This is the result of the hard-earned tax money of the people. The shoddy workmanship became evident after Zhengzhou's torrential rain on July 8, 2024. But subconsciously, I must speak out, because I am also from Zhengzhou. Tragic July 20th in Zhengzhou. From July 17 to 23, 2021, extreme torrential rains caused widespread severe flooding and numerous secondary disasters due to human errors in Hunan province, affecting over 10 million people across 150 counties. The most severe tragedy was in Zhengzhou City, where subway line 5 was flooded, causing significant casualties. Official reports confirmed 398 deaths and missing persons, including 380 in Zhengzhou alone, leading to skepticism about underreporting. Consequently, July 20th has become a sensitive date, with public mourning at the disaster site prohibited by Chinese Communist Party officials. Speaking about the Zhengzhou tragic flood in July 20th, Wang Weiluo, a hydrologist living in Germany, explained to Radio Free Asia, reservoirs can be utilized for flood control, but for effective management, they require substantial capacity. However, reservoirs like Zhengzhou's Changzhuang Reservoir are quite small and quickly reach capacity during rainfall. Once these reservoirs are full, they become hazardous, and the government then prioritizes the safety of the dam over the safety of the people downstream. As a result, they are forced to release water urgently. The released water, therefore, constitutes man-made flooding. Sinograin's poisoning incident escalates. Analysts, authorities have ulterior motives. Recently, the practice of repurposing tankers in China that were used for carrying kerosene to directly load edible oil without cleaning has sparked widespread outrage and captured the attention of both the media and analysts. According to a report by the Beijing News on July 2, a tanker driver disclosed that mixing and transporting food-grade and chemical liquids without prior cleaning is a well-known practice in the industry. Typically, if a tanker isn't cleaned after unloading coal-derived oil, it can retain anywhere from several hundred to several thousand kilograms of residual oil. The implicated edible oil companies include China's leading grain and oil business, the Huifu Grain and Oil Group, and the China Grain Reserves Oils and Fats, Tianjin Company, Ltd. Time Weekly reported that Su Dong, who is in his 50s and owns a freight company in Hunan, manages a fleet of 60 vehicles, including tankers for hazardous materials and standard tankers. His routes extend from the Jingji area to the far northwest. Reacting to the news, he stated that using tankers designated for hazardous materials to transport edible oil is illegal and akin to poisoning. Su Dong acknowledges that while his company has not experienced such incidents, he is aware of industry peers who engage in this practice. He highlighted that since mid-2022, the tanker transport sector has become saturated with new workers, leading to fierce competition and a pricing war. As the situation gained traction, several other mainland media outlets began to follow the story. Recently, CCTV criticized the China Grain Reserves for using the same tankers to transport coal-derived oil and edible oil, likening it to poisoning. Additionally, the Southern Metropolis Daily remarked, such reckless practices could be fatal for consumers. On July 10, independent commentator Kai Shinkuan posted on X platform, stating that the China Grain Reserves Corporation, or also called Sinograin, a giant state-owned enterprise, being singled out for public shaming and humiliation is certainly not due to the media suddenly acting as a conscientious watchdog. Instead, he suggests there are other motives at play. The article contends that based on the hype by official media, China's food safety situation has become alarmingly severe. A tracking of a state-owned enterprise's oil tanker over the past 3 months revealed that besides transporting kerosene and grain oil, it also transported feed, fertilizer, and potentially toxic chemicals. Kai Shenkuan evaluated that Deng Yu, the 59-year-old chairman of the China Grain Reserves Group, who occupies a vice-ministerial level position and is also a member of the 20th Central Committee, still has potential for advancement. However, he speculated that this scandal might jeopardize Deng's position, potentially ending his political career. He also suggested another scenario where the disclosure of malicious contamination by the China Grain Reserves, blamed for a surge in cancer cases in China following vaccinations, might be an attempt to divert criticism from the government's vaccine strategy, which was personally directed and implemented. On July 9, Associate Professor Feng Chongyi from the University of Technology Sydney spoke to Epoch Times, stating that using oil tankers first for industrial oil and then for edible oil showcases a profound disregard for life in China, labeling it as the country most plagued by toxic food products. He added that this issue reflects the deep-rooted corruption within the CCP government, which publicly promotes anti-corruption efforts daily, yet allows each stage of the food inspection process to be influenced by bribes. This corruption turns all CCP regulations into tools for power brokering, resulting in a failed regulatory system. As the incident unfolded, the CCP's State Council announced on July 9 that it was initiating an investigation and claimed it would set up a joint investigation team to thoroughly probe the issues at hand. Kai Shenkuan also believes that the release of the China Grain Reserves Corporation scandal is a major attempt at controlled news dissemination by the CCP's Central Propaganda Department. Given the intense focus by independent media and netizens on the floods in Pingjiang, Hunan, and the levee breach at Tuanzhou Polder and Huarong, which have made the party leaders' flood control policies look utterly ridiculous, the release of the Sinograin scandal is likely a ploy to distract the public and avoid further embarrassment. Another current affairs commentator, Li Lini, remarked that the CCP's State Council's announcement to initiate an investigation is merely reactive and too late, as regular supervision was absent previously. He anticipates that some personnel and specific units within the state-owned enterprises might be scapegoated. Li also opined that the exposure of the mixed oil transportation incident could be a strategic move by the CCP to divert public attention away from its role in exacerbating the flood disaster and from the widespread criticism of the government's corruption and incompetence, particularly before the third plenary session. Before the third plenum, Jack Ma returns to China and appears at Alibaba headquarters, sparking speculation. On July 11, the headline "Jack Ma returned to the country and appeared at Alibaba's headquarters" dominated trending searches. Online video footage from July 6 showed Jack Ma, dressed in a suit, at the Alibaba headquarters alongside executives. As they moved through the building, employees erupted in cheers, with many capturing the moment on their smartphones. Throughout, Jack Ma maintained a smile and warmly greeted everyone. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba and continually suppressed by the Chinese Communist Party, consistently attracts significant attention with his appearances. Despite his return to China being described as low-key, it quickly soared to the top of trending searches, sparking debate among netizens. Comments included observations like, "Jack Ma is back, what does this indicate?" Some suggested, "The state invited him, that's all." Others noted, "This marks the start of stabilizing employment, and it signals support for private capital from the third plenary session." Additional remarks highlighted, Jack Ma, still has capabilities, and it remains unclear what prompted such a collective departure of top figures abroad. News followed that Li Chang had once persuaded Jack Ma to return to China. After his critical remarks about CCP's regulatory agencies at the 2020 Shanghai Financial Summit, Jack Massachusetts faced intense governmental suppression and almost vanished from public life. His companies, Alibaba and Ant Group, incurred severe penalties. In March 2023, after a year abroad, Jack Ma made an unexpected high-profile reappearance in Hangzhou. Initially reluctant, reports indicate that new Chinese Premier Li Qiang intensely urged Jack Ma's return to enhance the international perception of China's business climate. The Wall Street Journal insiders noted that after the 20th National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, Beijing had reached out to Jack Ma multiple times through retired CCP officials and wealthy individuals, encouraging him to return to contribute to China's development. Reuters highlighted that since late 2022, Li Qiang had been actively pushing for Jack Ma's return to alleviate external concerns regarding the CCP's crackdown on the private sector. However, global observers are skeptical about Jack Ma's return having a significant impact on reversing China's economic decline. Fraser Howey, a seasoned Wall Street analyst specializing in Asia, told Reuters that although Jack Ma's return might appear as a relaxation gesture, the CCP's stringent controls over the private sector remain unchanged. Howey stated, "Jack Ma has been defeated. The party state has won, and Jack Ma has lost his control, power, and wealth, none of which are likely to be restored." Current affairs commentator Qin Peng, on the Qin Peng Observation Show, pointed out the dire state of the Chinese economy, leading CCP's highest echelons to deploy the strategy of buying a loyal follower for a great price. They implored Jack Ma to return to bolster confidence in private enterprises and international capital, though he noted the difficulty in healing the deep wounds of private entrepreneurs. Senior media personality Yan Chunwei reflected on Facebook that Jack Ma had no choice but to return to China. Holding critical secrets and deep knowledge of official business collusion, he questioned whether Jack Ma could have lived safely abroad. Given the pervasive reach of the CCP's intelligence, Jack Ma felt insecure no matter his location and lacked the means to protect his family. Consequently, not only was Jack Ma coerced into returning, but he also faced the daunting challenge of surviving under the stringent oversight of the CCP. Exclusive interview: CCP senior official discusses the lives of ordinary Chinese people. The Chinese Communist Party officially announced that China has entirely eradicated poverty and has progressed towards a moderately prosperous society. However, in a recent interview with Band News, Zhou Guogang, who was previously the head of a deputy department-level agency at the provincial government, exposed the harsh reality that life in China is very difficult and that achieving a moderately prosperous state remains unattainable in the foreseeable future. Zhou stated that, "Life in China is tough and not easy, especially for those at the bottom who are truly pitiful. You see the lower classes living in poverty, contrary to what is broadcasted on television or proclaimed at major meetings in Beijing, which assert that poverty has been eradicated and moderate prosperity has been achieved." But where is this true? Before his retirement, Zhou dedicated to poverty alleviation efforts in rural areas. He emphasized that former Premier Li Keqiang's remark about 600 million people in China earning merely 1,000 yuan a month was not just a mere statement but reflected a more severe reality. Zhou Guogang elaborated that, "I was responsible for poverty alleviation in rural areas, which led me to conduct field visits across various provinces. I have visited numerous provinces, all of which are impoverished, struggling even for basic subsistence, particularly in remote rural areas. Some mountainous regions are extremely poor, with houses made of grass and windows patched with newspapers. These houses could collapse under the conditions of strong winds, rain, or an earthquake. Children, between the ages of 7 and 10, often don't attend school. They wear tattered clothes and walk barefoot, a truly pitiable sight." These stark realities, however, are typically hidden from public view, overshadowed by the party media's portrayal of a so-called miracle of poverty alleviation. Zhou explained, "Ordinary people have been so thoroughly brainwashed that they only perceive China's bright future. Television broadcasts are filled with positive propaganda, and negative reporting is strictly forbidden. If you attempt it, you risk arrest. Hence, the common folk are subjected to this brainwashing. Those in power are well aware of the truth but are compelled to remain silent." Speaking openly about the improbability of China achieving moderate prosperity in the coming years would lead to arrest. Zhou also discovered that some townships are unable to pay their employees, and local financial reports are grossly inflated with debts skyrocketing. he said, during 2016 to 2018, while I was still in my post, I would sometimes visit the counties to inquire about their situations. Typically, a county's financial income would range from 400 million to 600 million yuan, approximately $55 million to $82.6 million USD, but they would report 2 to 2.5 billion yuan, approximately $344 million US dollars. I questioned why they reported such inflated figures. They responded that failing to meet these targets would result in the removal of their official hat. Furthermore, the external debt of a county could range from a few billion yuan to over 400 billion yuan, about 55 billion US dollars, a truly alarming figure. Moreover, the government's continuous demands for attracting investment are, according to Zhou, based on false pretenses. Zhou Guogang disclosed, I asked the foreign businessman, can you do this? He said he couldn't, because every county here has people doing business abroad. We send the money over, then bring it back, cycle it back and forth. This is an intent agreement. I said, doesn't this lead to losses? He said, of course there are losses, but there's no other way. So it becomes an intent agreement, attracting investment. There are no real targets, all of China is faking it. Oh well, there's no way around it. So, this thing, once it's out, you can dare to speak the truth. In China, you just listen and watch, and that's it. So whether China's GDP can really rank second in the world, I also doubt it, because these figures are not accurate. Zhou revealed that the government's initiative of common prosperity involves urging large corporations to donate funds, but this money predominantly ends up in the national treasury, not benefiting the impoverished populace. The situation for Chinese citizens remains dire. The former official concluded, in the bureaucracy, Chinese people endure hardships, subordinates must appease their superiors to secure their livelihood, salary, and benefits, despite the need to generate income. Ordinary citizens are brainwashed into believing that the national conditions are favorable. For students and intellectuals, the regime adopts a high-pressure tactic to suppress dissent. Thus, the Chinese populace is truly pitiable, with China now closely resembling North Korea. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.